Hi and welcome. I'm Sabrina Fry, and today you are going to have a special treat. You're going to be able to watch me put this entire piece together. And this red daisy is 24 by 24 inches, so it's a really large piece. And I started out by painting the outline of the center of the daisy on so that I could have my guidelines. And also, I wanted to have these very prominent colors behind my beads. So here I am using, these are not seed beads, these are actually miniature flowers that are molded, and they have a hole in the middle of them, but they're actual mini flowers, and they're great for the center of this daisy, which is kind of that sunflower look. It's going to be kind of dark but very textural in the middle. But every one of these needs to be placed in one by one. So here I'm using Aleene's clear tacky glue, and I'm just pouring it on and placing these in a very kind of random pattern. I mean, there's some sort of a pattern to it, but not too much. So here I just pour the glue on, and I'm picking the beads up, and I'm picking them up. Earlier you saw with that silver thing in my hand. That one right there is a wax. It has a wax end on it, so it lets me pick each bead up individually very easily, and it lets the bead go very easily as soon as it touches the glue. So it makes it easier than tweezers that tend to get clogged up with glue. But I do have to use the tweezers to move things around. And then here, while that's drying, I am laying some bead lines. And this piece was actually done with raised sides. So this petal that you're looking at is actually raised off the canvas. So some of the petals are flat on the canvas and others are off of it. And so I'm outlining the outside of this with beads that are already strung. They're called hanks. They come on hanks. And I run a thin line of glue with my air pen, and then I just lay the bead line on top, and I pull the string out after I straighten it. This is going to give the piece a lot of depth later on. Then I want to get started on some of the details that you're not really going to notice because they're going to be covered up with beads, but they are in the details, and you'll notice them when you notice the depth of the piece. So I painted only part of the petals red because I want a really deep, rich red for where the petals actually meet the center of the flower, give it a more realistic look. And then I added the black lines with Sharpie, and I wanted black because, again, I wanted the reds to be very deep and rich. And these are translucent beads, so the black is really going to darken them up and make them look almost black, but with a red hint. And then I continued the lines with red, and if you notice, I'm not running the beads all the way down the petals. And that's because the red painted lines that are on the petals are going to subtly shine through the other beads that I set there. Here I am working on the outside of the center, and I had already set some larger seed beads to give that kind of tubular look that happens with the sunflowers. Sorry I didn't film that, but here I'm just filling in, I'm pouring beads on, I'm mixing colors. I'm using 3 different shades of brownish yellows, but I wanted them dark enough so that those other little pieces that I put down would stand out. I'm pouring the glue here. This is my skinny glue mixture. Here, I waited until the next day. I needed those other areas to dry. So now that they're dry, I can start filling in. So this is what it looks like when it was dry. Now I'm going with the red, and I am using probably 6 different shades of red, starting with very dark, deep reds toward the middle of the flower, and then getting lighter as I go out. And I am blending and mixing the darker. See, they're more heavily dark toward the inside of the flower. And then I'm using lighter beads, red beads, toward the outside. And because I didn't paint the outside of the petals, the natural red color of the bead is going to be more prominent. because I want to create variation in the petals themselves, and I don't want it to just look like a plain red blob, I am using some beads that are just a shade lighter and darker than each other. So I'm alternating them, and you can kind of see on the petals that already have glue in them, they're a little bit white, that some have a little more orange in them and some have a little bit more red. Now this is a lot of handwork, so I haven't really had to get the tweezers out in this area because I'm kind of pouring and mixing and patting and smoothing and blending everything here together. When I'm done with this, I'm going to pour the glue on it, and then after the glue dries, I'm going to have to go back in with tweezers and one by one fill in those gaps, and that's a whole other job in itself. But this is a real fun part because this is where I get to experiment and get to have fun. I don't use red very often in my work, so I really had a good time kind of exploring my red beads and seeing what kind of effects I can get with them. And this piece used a lot of beads. I have to say that I did stop this video several times to replenish my bead supply because I used a lot of beads in this. So just to give you an idea of the number of beads, let's see, it's 24 by 24 piece, so that's 576 square inches, and there's approximately 256 beads per square inch. So this piece uses approximately 150,000 beads. And you can imagine that you do need to have quite a stock of beads to do this project. And you don't want to start with not enough beads because bead dye lots do change. And you could run into some issues with making sure that you have the right colors. So be careful with something like that when you're working on a project this large. But here I am just pouring them in, and again you can see a lot of handwork, just straightening them. It's a lot of touch and feel. You can also see the subtle red lines that were painted behind it peeking through. And here I'm pouring the glue, and I had to go get more glue because this used a lot of glue. I want it to be runny. I want it to sink down. I want it to disappear. I don't want to be able to see that. And here's the final outcome. So you can see those subtle lines behind the beads, and here is the final piece all together. So I hope you've enjoyed this journey of the Red Daisy with me. Her name is Scarlett. Thank you. Bye.